October 18, 1970, and Joe Willie Namath was deep in thought. He was thinking about a game played in Miami almost 2 years ago called the Super Bowl. On that memorable Sunday, Namath led his New York Jets to what many thought was the greatest upset in pro football history against the Baltimore Colts. He did it by establishing a strong ground game mixed with short, accurate passes against the Colts' zone defense. With more than a little help from his friends, the Jets defense, Namath, Coach Weeb Ewbank, the team, the city, all of pro footballdom enjoyed one of the premier moments in sports. And the Jets secured a place in the history book forever. Now, almost 2 years later, Namath and Weeb Ewbank must have thought about that day. For today, they faced the Baltimore Colts again for the first time since. Coach Ewbank had plenty to worry about. The Jets' offense was hurting with Matt Snell gone and Don Maynard not 100% yet, while their defense is completely reorganized and has yet to gel as a unit. Their 1-3 record to date is a reflection of that fact, plus the inability of Namath to lead his team to touchdowns, despite being second in the league in total offense. The Colts, too, have been an enigma since their Super Bowl loss to the Jets. Last year, they were mediocre, and this year, new head coach Don McCafferty has shuffled his two aging quarterbacks in and out, trying to find the consistent winner. Neither Morrill or Unitas has been devastating, to say the least. And although Baltimore has a 3-1 record, neither the offense nor the Colts' invincible defense of the past has looked particularly impressive. So today, the Baltimore Colts and the New York Jets present Super Bowl 1968 Revisited. I'm Andy Musser, and this is the NFL Game of the Week. The Colts opened with 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and 1 back, determined to pass their way to victory. And on the game's first play, John Unitas and John Mackey combined for a big start to one of the wildest first quarters ever seen. Unitas immediately discovered his game plan to be correct. The Jets' defense against the rush is and has always been excellent. And on the following 3 plays, number 60, linebacker Larry Grantham, lineman Verlin Biggs, and John Elliott stopped the Colts' running game cold. On 4th and 6, rookie Jim O'Brien made it 3-0 with a 28-yard field goal. The Colts would run the ball only 6 more times in the half. Weeb Ewbank had the same exact game plan, pass. Where Unitas succeeded, Namath on his first attempt met disaster. Throwing against one of the best zone secondaries in football, Namath was intercepted by number 20, safety Jerry Logan, and Logan easily took it into the end zone. On a repeat, we see that Namath's pass was deflected by Bubba Smith right into Logan's hands. Colts 10, Jets nothing. The Jets' second series would be epitomized by the kickoff return as number 40, Mike Battle, had his bell rung. Namath overthrew Maynard 3 straight times, and Baltimore got the ball again. Again, it took Unitas 5 plays to score. First, he went to Eddie Hinton, number 33, the second-year man from Oklahoma, who has displaced Jimmy Orr. Hinton's deep post gained 32 yards. Then Unitas used one of his 2 tight ends on a quick out. Tom Mitchell, number 84, took the pass, broke a tackle by number 51, Ralph Baker, and went to the Jets' 15. 2 plays later, Mitchell ran the same pattern to the other side and was no match for the linebacker covering him. Colts 17, Jets nothing with 10 minutes left in the first quarter. The Jets had planned to pass anyway, but down 17, Namath would be under added pressure from the Colts line. The Jets' offensive line, however, gave him near-flawless protection, and Joe went about his task. With George Sauer injured, Maynard became Namath's only target for a while, using him on the medium range down and outs and on the long bombs. It is virtually impossible to throw over a zone secondary, nor is it wise. But Namath here managed to complete a 45-yarder to Maynard as the Jets were now on the Colts 44. But the Colts dug in. Namath underthrew, then overthrew rookie Ed Bell, number 7, playing 4 sour. And Jim Turner, who is the Jets' only offensive weapon on occasion, put New York on the board, 17-3. The rest of the quarter went scoreless, but saw a series of weird happenings, the likes of which were last seen at a 3-ring circus, as 2 usually well-disciplined teams came a cropper. After Johnny on the spot recovered a fumble by setback Norm Bulash, he gave the ball up to the Jets as W.K. Hicks intercepted his attempted throw to Mitchell. On a repeat, we see that Hicks played it perfectly, made a beautiful one-handed catch to set the Jets up in Colt territory. Namath continued to disdain running the ball. He felt he could riddle the Colts zone, and yardage-wise, he was. Bell's good moves took it to the 9. But on second down, a pass to setback Lee White was broken up. On third down, Namath went for it all. But Mike Curtis, number 32, cut in front of Pete Lamons and picked off the Colts' second interception of the quarter. Again, Namath's interceptions had hurt him badly. But this one wouldn't result in a score. Unitas treated the partisan Jet crowd to one of his own by Gus Holloman, and New York again was in striking distance. Joe Willie now decided to play it extra cautious, and he went short to Boozer to the Colts 33. But he couldn't resist Don Maynard, so he faded back with plenty of time and fired the ball for the end zone, right into the hands of Jerry Logan. On a repeat, we can see Maynard was again double covered, and Logan's perfectly timed theft closed out with a flourish, a frenetic first quarter. The Colts ahead 17-3. We'll be right back with more exciting action on the NFL Game of the Week. With the Colts ahead by 14, Unitas surprisingly continued to pass. On the screen to number 36, rookie Norm Bulash, watch the Jets' number 21, rookie Steve Tannen, play off his blocker and stop Bulash, who had hopes of a long gainer. Unitas was still passing primarily because his running game is somewhat limited. Tom Matty is injured, and Bulash and Jack Maitland are rookies. Then Johnny Unitas called a reverse by receiver Roy Jefferson. And with perfect ball handling by everyone, it worked for another first down to the Jets' 15. Then John Mackey got behind the safety, but the master's pass was just out of his reach. Unitas was confident that the Jets' secondary, 10th worst in the AFC, could be penetrated for a score. So on third down, he went to Mitchell in the end zone. But W.K. Hicks made a great save. A field goal followed to make it 20-3. Namath continued to try and pass his way up and down the field. With Snell out, his ground game was of little help, but neither were his receivers on this play. Shea Stadium resembled a Texas dust storm on this next play as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid mugged a cowboy to put out another futile New York Jet drive. O'Neill punted to the 4. From the 4, Unitas and the Colts went backwards. After Elliott stopped Unitas on the 1-foot line, Ralph Baker caught Maitland in the end zone for a safety. It was now Colts 20, Jets 5. If the Jets could score again now, this could turn momentum their way. Mike Battle took the Colts' free kick after a safety and went into their territory. Battle won the battle, but he lost the war and was removed from the field as a casualty. Namath continued his private war with the Colts defense, and once again he would fail to figure out how to penetrate an enemy he had been able to beat so handily in the Super Bowl. His short passing game was okay, but he couldn't hit the long one. He could not fault his line, which was giving him ample time. Rather, Joe Willie's receivers just couldn't clear their defenders. And Joe Willie, who hadn't faced that many zones, was not able to find the open slots in the coverage used by the Colts backs and linebackers. So Jim Turner would try to salvage something, but even he was below par. And Jim Duncan brought his short attempted three-pointer back 28 yards. But the Jets defense again sacked Unitas and stopped the Colts. They had only allowed 13 points of the Colts' 20, less a safety. But Namath just couldn't get the points on the board. The Jets had now gone 6 quarters without a touchdown, 4 against Miami and 2 here. But Joe's passes to Pete Lamons and Ed Bell drew the Jets nearer as the half was almost over. On a repeat of the last play, we see how the Namath to Bell completion looked to members of the band, as Bell himself joined the group for a moment. But on third down, Namath's arm again would fail him. Turner's 38-yard field goal attempt was blocked to add insult to injury. This was no ordinary revenge. The Jets were suffering a humiliation as if at the mercy of the women's liberation movement. It was fitting that the half ended as it began, with another turnover. Jefferson's fumble was the 7th turnover of the half as the clock ran out on the Shea Stadium Wild West show. It was a far cry from the Super Bowl, but the Jets must have been crying all the way to the locker room. Colts 20, Jets 5. The 20-5 score survived only 7 seconds into the second half, when on the first play from scrimmage, linebacker Bob Grant stepped in front of a Namath pass at the New York 27 and scored. The placement was low, but Baltimore now led 26-5. On the very next series, Namath tried to hit Don Maynard over the middle. Jerry Logan deflected the pass, turned the right way, and had his 3rd interception of the game. Baltimore again had the ball, but not for long. Free safety W.K. Hicks was in the right spot and returned the theft 35 yards. On the next play from the 17, Namath finally hit one of his own men. Eddie Bell went in for a touchdown. A repeat of the score shows one reason Namath is as great as he is. When he drops back, he keeps the ball low, near his body. And when he unloads, he does so quickly with a flick of his wrist. It adds up to one of the fastest releases in football. The score now was Baltimore 26, New York 12. On Baltimore's ensuing series, another master of the fast gun, Johnny Unitas, passed to Eddie Hinton over the middle for a gain of 15 yards. Then the tide seemed to turn for the Colts. Unitas handed off to Jack Maitland, who lost the handle. The rookie from Williams College fell on his own fumble, however. But on the next play, Unitas was smothered attempting to pass, and Baltimore gave up the ball. The breaks finally were going the way of the Jets, and Joe Namath kept things hot. He hit Boozer coming out of the backfield on a circle pattern for a 7-yard pickup. But when he tried the ground game, he was again stopped cold. Matt Snell's absence was being felt more and more. So Namath was forced to the air, and despite the inevitability of the strategy, he flourished. His short and medium range passes were moving the Jets on their first sustained drive of the football game. Don Maynard was the key man in this drive. Maynard had been hampered all season by a nagging leg injury, and this was his first big day. He finished with 9 receptions. After the Namath-Maynard tandem had brought the Jets to the Baltimore goal, Emerson Boozer dove over the middle for the score that brought New York to within 1 touchdown of their opponents. It was Namath who now prevailed in this battle of great quarterbacks. In high school, Johnny Unitas was Joe Namath's idol. In fact, Broadway Joe wore number 19 in those days and liked to be called Joey U. We'll return with more of the exciting action on the NFL Game of the Week. With a minute and a half left in the third period and the Colts ahead by a touchdown, Jim Duncan took a kickoff at his own 5 and brought it back 43 yards to give the Colts great field position. John Unitas resisted the temptation of a passing duel with Namath, and for the rest of the game stayed on the ground. Sam Havrelak was running well, and Baltimore moved into Jets territory. But at the beginning of the fourth quarter on a 3rd down play, Havrelak was just short of a first down, and Baltimore kicked a field goal to increase their lead to 10 points, 29-19. Despite this, things seemed to be going New York's way. A pass to Bell was tipped at the line of scrimmage and still resulted in a completion. But then disaster struck again for New York. Namath went deep for Maynard, who was behind his defender. But Jim Duncan went high to make a difficult interception and returned it 30 yards. The Colts could do nothing and gave the ball back to New York, but time was running out for the Jets. Broadway Joe moved them downfield again on passes to his setbacks and sideline slants to Maynard. Namath was making the air attack go despite the fact he had no ground threat. The Jets running backs gained the lowly total of 37 yards for the entire day. The defensive pressure on the Jets' passing game was terrific. Namath tried to go to Maynard long, and the ubiquitous Jerry Logan made the save. A repeat of this key play shows how it looked to Maynard as he got by cornerback Duncan, number 35, and streaked down the right sideline, only to have his journey end in frustration. Reliable Jim Turner kicked a 42-yard field goal, and New York was back to within a touchdown, 29-22. Now they needed the football. Turner faked a kickoff, and number 43, John Dockery, tried an onside that failed. By the time New York got the ball again, there was just under 2 minutes remaining. Namath, throwing sideline passes right and left, moved the Jets upfield quickly. He approached 3 NFL records today. He threw 62 passes, 6 less than the record. He completed 34, 3 less than the record. And he had 6 intercepted, 2 less than the record. His pass to Ed Bell tied a Jet receiving record. It was the rookie's 12th catch of the day. It turned out to be New York's last gasp. George Knock couldn't hold on to a Namath jump pass, and then on the Jets' last play, Emerson Boozer was talked out of a reception by Jim Duncan. The Jets' hopes of victory lay in the dust of Shea Stadium. It only remained for the Colts to run out the clock. This they did with ease as they pounded into the Jets' defense time after time. Baltimore had gotten their revenge and now stood atop the American Conference's Eastern Division, tied with Miami for first place. Each team has a 4-1 record. The Jets dropped 3 games behind the Colts. They've won only 1 of 5 games, and their hopes for qualifying for the playoffs are virtually buried. In this game, the Super Bowl revisited, Baltimore proved to the Jets that the past cannot be recaptured. Baltimore had won 29-22. The Colts crusade, which had begun in the Orange Bowl 22 months ago, had finally come to an end.